Class contest. Employee in class contest. Anybody's ever done that? Raise your hand. Okay, so what kind of contest have you done, sir?
I'll ask the students to come up with, for example, I teach film classes.
Okay.
So I'll say something along the lines of, okay, I want each of you to pick the most important character in this film and tell me why. And then we can vote on it. You know, like maybe 5 people pick somebody and then everybody votes. And I actually will make little gold stars. I will go to the craft store, get little wooden stars, spray paint them gold, and give the winner a gold star. And they actually love it.
And they laugh about it, don't they? They'll laugh about giving them a star.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other in class? Yes.
I teach environmental biology, so I have them present on endangered species.
Okay.
And then they get to vote on which ones are worth saving and why should we save them.
Okay. Okay.
And then the winners get points.
5 points on the next test. I do that a lot, right? Not more than 5 though.
I teach in physical therapy, so I will do like review activities. If I'm presenting on pathophysiology and diagnosis, then I'll say, okay, think about how this is going to affect this patient as they're recovering. I want you break into groups and have them list all of the muscles that they can think of that attach to the scapula.
Oh, beautiful.
And then at the end, we list them off and check and make sure they actually do, and then the group that lists the most muscles gets whatever. I have stickers that I give them, and
Stickers in college.
it doesn't matter if you're 50.
There you go.
You'll do anything.
There's humor. There's humor that comes with that too.
Oh yeah.
You give a 45-year-old a sticker for
It
getting
says
over
super.
Yeah, Yes.
Mine is along the flipped classroom where I have outside learning, and they go and reach a certain mastery level. And
Okay.
whoever gets to the mastery level that I'm expecting them to be at, then they would win. They get lunch. It's a sandwich.
Oh my God, I want to eat in your class.
Well, I'm from Louisiana and we love to eat.
Okay.
And we have Queen of the Day, because I only have female students right now. The Queen of the Day crown that they wear.
So it's interesting because so far I've attended 3 of the workshops here today, and we heard the term flipping the classroom. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about flipping the classroom. I attended a couple of workshops with flipping the classroom, and I'll tell you what worked for me. And I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues who use it, and they agree that it works. Flipping the classroom is great for more difficult topics. I find that I use flipping the classroom for a difficult topic. I know, and with flipping the classroom comes preparation. It's not something that you're just come into class, you look at your class, and you're like, active learning, student engagement, okay, I'm going to flip the classroom today because I don't want to stand up and teach. And that's not what we do with flipping the classroom. Flipping the classroom requires preparation. It requires for you to, let's say you have blackboard or whiteboard, to put up something on there, lectures, discussion, tell them in the next class, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be flipping the classroom where you, the students, are going to be the professor, and I'm going to be the student. And this is the topic, and this is what's going to happen. And the best group, let's say, or the best student who does the best explanation, or whoever's going to be the best instructor, is going to get the extra credit or is going to get whatever it is that you have to do. Flipping the classroom, I use for the more difficult topics in science. Yeah.
We're using it in, I designed a class that there are a bunch of us teaching now, it's an introduction to business class that we flip. So that's a very basic survey course.
Yeah.
But they actually compete on an intro to business Shark Tank. And so they're put in groups, and they have to be applying all the concepts. They actually come up with a business idea. They have to go through the business plan, look at all the pieces. And then at the end of the semester, when they make their presentations, the students can vote with dollars.
Yeah.
They have a certain number of, I think you give them $10, and they can award the dollars to any of the groups. But their peers actually, that actually is 40% of their grade. I only grade them on what my evaluation is the other 60 points.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's
I was at the Hook workshop downstairs, and you were there, and you had some great ideas with the bracket and having them fill out the brackets in the statistics course and flipping the coin, you know. But be careful with gambling in the classroom. That's the one advice I
You know, it's not gambling.
I know.
Physical survey.
Yeah, I know.
Data.
But it was great. I thought it was brilliant, you know, because you'll get a lot of people are involved with like the March Madness and they're into watching a lot of the college basketball games, and I found that interesting. You know?
But usually if it works on TV, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a concept that works and gets people in.
Yeah, but you got to be careful. Some of them go outside. You know, they go outside and they gamble, flipping the coin in the class, and then they go gamble that sheet. You know, that's the one thing. You know. Yeah. Cooperative learning strategies, like, you know, we just said flipping the classroom, putting students into groups. You know, so I think a lot of faculty put their students in groups, okay? But I think putting your students in groups requires more of your attention than you think. You know, a lot of faculty just say, hey, listen, you guys get into groups. You know, we're gonna do a group assignment, and the students look for their friends and they get in their group, right? Or some students just go and they go with the student that is the brightest student in the class and they want to be in their group because they're going to do all the work, right? But I think putting students in groups is one of my favorite strategies that we use in active learning and student engagement, but I do it in a very interesting way. And one is, if I'm going to do a group work, or I'm going to give a group, or all the groups, a question and they have to answer it, or a series of questions, I hold every single group member liable and responsible for the work. And what I do is I monitor them while they're in the group. And I'll look and I'll be like, this person's not doing anything. That's the person I'm going to ask. That's the person I'm going to get to be engaged. And so they know that I don't pick one spokesperson from every group to represent that entire group. They all represent, and they're all leaders in that group. So I think that when you put students in groups, that you have to monitor the groups. It's not just to sit there and put them in groups, and you know, you'll hear them talking about their vacations, you'll hear them talking about their boyfriends and girlfriends, right? And about their shopping, and it has nothing to do with what's going on. That's because the one or two students in that group who are the ones that really care about the subject, they're doing all the work and they're going to represent the group. So you have to hold every single group member accountable for that work or whatever it is that you do in that group. Yes?
I do a mechanical engineering class.
Okay.
And what we do is at the beginning of the semester, I do a one-person project, and then I start assigning groups as it goes through. And at the end of the semester, they know that they have to evaluate all their peers very much like they would be in a consulting firm.
Very nice.
And so they have to put in, and the really fun one was when I had a student that I happened to know was a welder, and nobody knew it was her. And they had a project that they ended up finding out later on. I said, well, why didn't you use her? She's a welder. She would have known what to do.
Oh,
And
wow.
make them find out about different things in their groups.
The one thing that we have to be careful with when especially when it comes to debates, I think the topics that are topics that might cause a debate in class, you have to be very, very careful. I know, you know, when I teach medical law and ethics, there's a lot of debates, and you know, abortion is sensitive. You know, I remember one time, you know, there was a question that was brought up in class where a student said, you know, I heard that Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in blood transfusions. What's the medical law and ethics to that, you know? And then all of a sudden you had students, I can't believe it. So if there's a patient that's dying and they lose blood and they need blood, you don't give them blood because being a Jehovah's Witness means that you don't get any blood transfusion, or you're not to get blood transfusion. And mind you, I had 2 students in the class who were Jehovah's Witnesses. So the 2 students in the class, they got up and they were just talking about it and you know what other options they have. And then all of a sudden, it's a debate. And then religion came into play. And then ethics, medical law and ethics was put on the side. Then religion came into play. And one of the Jehovah's Witnesses got up and she just went nuts. And so you have to be careful, I think. You have to be careful with the debates. You know, and as you know, because as the leader, you have to really know when to stop the debate, and because it could get out of hand. You know, so that's you know some of the things. Sometimes when you put them in groups, I do that. I do a lot of group work with debates in medical law and ethics. You know, I take real life medical cases, Roe versus Wade, and we talk about abortion and all these things, and I have them debate. And so that's something that we have to like be very, very careful. They're engaged, but they may be engaged in a fight after class, so you have to be careful with that. So that's something that we, something that we have to be careful. Obstacles that a lot of faculty report. Because, let's face it, I'm sure you know and I know faculty member who still come to class and just lecture and that's it, right? because they feel like some of these are the obstacles that, that give them such a hard time. Not enough time to cover all the material. So when we talk about active learning and student engagement, we're not saying that you take your 4-hour class and the entire class is that one active learning strategy or technique that you're using for 4 hours. We're not saying that. So a lot of them, they use this excuse, I don't have enough time to cover all the material. We're not asking you to use the 3 hours or the 2-hour lecture, or even if it's a 50-minute lecture, to utilize that entire lecture for active learning, but we just saw the different techniques that we could use. And we know that we always have enough time. We do have enough time, but we have to know when to use which technique for which topic. Not all these techniques work for every single topic, okay? Too much pre-class preparation for an active learning technique. What do you guys think about that? I think it takes longer to prepare a PowerPoint lecture than it is to prepare an active learning strategy.
Because it's new, you've already got the PowerPoints done.
Yeah, that's quick. That's quick because, and that's wrong, mind you, because what we have to know is we have to know that there's new stuff out there.
Exactly.
I can't take my material from last year and use the PowerPoints from the publisher that I've used 5 years in a row already. I have to make some changes, right? And so that's the reality. We're talking things that really happen. In the back, yes.
The other thing that I always encourage my colleagues who are thinking about flipping the class is that you don't have to flip the entire class. You don't have to flip the entire curriculum. You can do it bite by bite over a series of semesters until you finally have enough that you can work with. So it's not, if you don't try to swallow the entire thing all at once, it is workable. And to address not enough time to cover the material, if we face the fact that if we're doing the old-time traditional lecture and realize that they're not listening to us anyway, although we're covering everything, maybe we need to have an approach that's different to where we're getting to the essentials and let other forms of instruction teach them the rest.
I have an idea. For something like that, it's not an idea, it's something that we should do. If we feel like that we don't have enough time, I think we should have a lesson plan. And the lesson plan should say, this is going to be my 2-hour, 45-minute class today. I know this is what I'm going to do the first 10 minutes, this is what I'm going to do the next 20 minutes, and I know if I have a plan, I know that I'm going to meet that plan. And I know I'm going to give my class a break during this time. And I think a lot of us with experience, you have a lot of teaching experience, so you feel like you don't need a plan, or you don't need a lesson plan, and you might not, because you have the experience. You come in, you know what to do. Sometimes you didn't even have a plan to have an active learning strategy, and you just put it in right there while you're in class, okay? We do that, but I think a lesson plan helps, and I think that's good with time management, so you know that you'll have enough time to cover the material, okay? Another excuse, and we spoke about this already, large class sizes prevent the use of active learning, okay? And again, we said that the pause procedure works, asking questions, getting a larger group. Look, it's very difficult with 300 students. We know some colleges have 300 students, 250 students, but that does not mean that you just lecture for 3 or 4 hours. We can stop and ask questions. We sure can. I taught a class of 60 students, and I did that. And I would just walk around, even with 60 students in the class, and it's tough to walk around for up, especially because those classes, there's stairs, and you gotta go up and down. But I would walk around, and walking around is a technique that gets the student to wake up. He's walking around. Oh my God, I better put my cell phone away. Right? Walking around. So a lot of instructors just stand right over here. Walking around works. It works. It's great. Lack of material and equipment. Everybody thinks active learning and student engagement is just technology. It's not technology. You could do an active learning, get the students engaged with just you talking. There's no material. You're the material. That's it. So I think this is an excuse that a lot of them, a lot of faculty use. Oh, the college doesn't have clickers. Yeah, well, some colleges don't. But it doesn't mean that that's the only strategy we have. And that's the only technique we use. And then this is another excuse. Students resist non-lecture approaches. I disagree with that. Students are not always under the expectation, not always, under the expectation that you're just going to come and lecture and teach and that's it. They may be, but once you start to use the active learning and all these, student engagement approaches and things like that, the student is going to build the habit of, oh wow, this professor, I understand everything he or she says because I know he's going to do something. he's gonna get the class awake and alert and